Hey guys, check this out. We are with a very heavily camouflaged car. We're here in South Korea at the moment, driving the new Inster. I think it's a terrible name. SEO reasons, you're gonna search up Insta and Instagram's gonna pop up. But anyway, it's actually called the Casper EV here in Korea. If you know anything about Hyundai, you'll know that they sell a little Casper, which is a tiny little petrol city car. And now they've made it into an EV. And it's an EV that we're gonna be getting in Australia. So today we're going to take a first look at this as much as we can anyway. Don't worry, I'll give you some inside details. We're gonna take a look around the heavily camouflaged exterior. I'll show you some really cool features. Then we're gonna move on to the interior, see what that's like. And then we're going to drive this thing, see just how good it is, because it's going to be one of the most affordable EVs when it does come to Australia, being so small and tiny. So let's get into it. Hi, sorry for the quick interruption, just very quickly. This video was actually shot before the official unveiling of the Inster. So a lot of the B-roll that you're gonna see is going to be of the pre-production or prototype car, but I'm also gonna sprinkle in a few shots of the car now that it's actually been released. So sorry for the confusion, but hopefully it makes sense now. Enjoy the rest of the video. Alrighty, mummies and daddies, let's talk about the way that this thing looks. So obviously, like I said, heavily camouflaged. You've got these pads on top to throw you off the scent. But yes, this is the Insta. It's got some really cool stuff. I love these LED daytime running lights and some actually very bright LED lights here too. This is a Euro spec and it's in black, so not the most exciting color, but you can see some hints of the other colors. They've got like tomboy khaki. I think that's a politically incorrect name, but anyway. You've also got some LED turn signals here, and they're pretty nice and bright. I like those. You've got a giant sensor here. This thing will be coming with all of the latest and greatest in safety tech, but it also means it comes with the latest and worstness in Hyundai's beeping and bonging, but we'll come back to that on the drive. You've got a massive open area here to help cool the small batteries that this thing has. Again, we'll talk about that on the drive. Otherwise, I can't really show you anything else. Let's check out the side. Alrighty, let's talk about the side. So you're gonna see these tiny little 15-inch wheels here. So this comes on the base model, although this one here is a hybrid of both the base and top specs. But these wheels, they're small, but they're alloys, and you can also get it in 17-inch wheels, which do look pretty good. But I do love these little wheels because it just makes the car and ride more comfortable, and you don't need much bigger. That just impacts aerodynamics. So this thing will actually get a decent amount of range. You've got a 360 camera there, at least from what we can see. You've actually got a lot of glass here for such a small car, and you're going to notice that the wheelbase is just huge. It's massive. Put it up on the screen now because I've just forgotten it, but yeah, it's really big. It's actually a little bit bigger than the Casper that it's based on, and you can tell, and that means that space on the inside is weirdly phenomenal. Got some tinted privacy glass here. You've also got a door handle in your C-pillar, and you've got a smiley face as well that will make it to the production model, and roof rails up the top. It wouldn't be an SUV, you know, it wouldn't be a tiny Suzuki Ignis looking SUV if it didn't have that. And by the way, you can see here that the wheels, they're just pushed out so far into the corners of the car to maximize space. So yeah, very, very good design. Let's check out the bum. Okay, let's talk about the bum on this thing. So you can see these really cool parametric pixel LED lights here. I love the way that they look. If you take a peek inside of there, you're not supposed to, but it does say Insta and the Hyundai badge there too. And then your turn signals are down here, which are quite low, and I wonder if that might be an issue if a car is too close to you. They're not going to be able to see that. But otherwise, a very boxy design, and like I said, I'm not going to lie, it looks like a Suzuki Ignis from the rear, especially in some of the uncamouflaged versions I have seen. But I think it's really good looking. Again, let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. What do you think of the looks of this thing? Let's check out the interior. Quick interruption because I could actually see this yesterday in the prototype drive, but boot space itself, if you have all the seats back, it's really not very good, but you can slide the seat forward and get a lot more space. This lady has helped me show, so very cool. And by the way, if you're hoping to see some under bonnet storage, well, you're not going to get that either. This is not an eGMP platform, i.e. Hyundai's electric platform. They've kind of just made this combustion platform available for electric, so there's no space under the bonnet. Back to the normal review. Alrighty guys. Ooh, it's quite solid. In the interior now of this pre-production Casper EV, I should stipulate, it's a decent place to be. It definitely feels like a pretty cheap car. You see, we don't know what the pricing of this is going to be, but in Europe it will start at 25,000 euros, which if you convert that to Australian dollars, it's bang on 40,000 Australian dollars, which would make it one of the cheapest, not the cheapest EV sold in Australia. That honor goes to the GWM Ora. But if you touch around yeah, it's a lot of scratchy materials, but it's also a mixture of kind of nice recycled materials. It has to be recycled. So some of the things I really like in here is just the layout of it. So you've got this little storage area behind this area here. Got a USB-C port, USB-A port, and a 12-volt socky walkie. Also got a little storage area, though it's scratchy, so things will just come flying at you under hard acceleration. But anyway, massive glove box here for such a small car, which is very cool. Also got a little storage area here with a wireless charger. That's nice. Another storage area here, and you've got a household socket there too. So very well packaged. Also, there isn't much of a transmission tunnel, so it feels very open, and you could slide your leg in if you really wanted to. You have these seats here, which are a nice cloth. They do feel very soft, and they are actually quite supportive. We've done a couple hundred kilometers today, and they're working pretty well. In the center here, I kind of like this design. So if I slide my driver's seat back and forward, you can see that it moves this center console with a couple of cup holders and a phone storage area there too. You've got this armrest, which you honestly don't often see in A segment cars, which are like the smaller city cars, which this actually is. In the center here, you have physical for your media control. Fantastic. Thank you, Hyundai, for not putting that in the screen. And you do have physical air conditioning controls here, which is always nice to see, and heated seats. Not sure if there will be an option for cooled seats. We will have to wait to see for that. Technology in here is fantastic too. So dual 10.25-inch displays. They're really snappy. They work very, very well. This one here thinks it's in Germany. So yeah, don't worry about that. But you do have a bunch of menus. You'll have wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Then up in front of you, you get this digital instrument cluster, which looks like pretty much every other digital instrument cluster we've seen from Hyundai, but it works so well. It's very, very functional. And when you change your drive modes, it does change its look as well. So very, very cool indeed. You've also got this faux leather steering wheel, which does feel really, really nice to hold on to, like quite sporty actually, with regen paddles here. You have 4 dots here. That means H in Morse code, and they change depending on, you know, whether you put your car into reverse, they go red, or normally they're blue. If you go eco mode, they're green, blah, blah. On the left-hand side, you have your self-driving stuff. On the right-hand side, you have your media stuff too. And by the way, this is a fun little feature. You've got this panel here, very rugged looking with giant Phillips head screws there. You can actually swap that out if you want to and put in different colors. So in like another car, it's yellow, for example, and you can aftermarket that. It's a small thing, doesn't really matter, no, but it is kind of cool. Also, your shifter is here, and that does clear up this area too. So overall, it's a really nice place in the front. Does feel a little bit basic in some areas, but also very, very well thought out. Down to things like on the passenger side, you have a hook to carry things. You just don't really see that in other cars. So that's the front seats. Before we check out the back seats, I want to give a quick shout out to us, carsauce.com/buy. As you guys know, we have partnered with Australia's #1 car buying service, Motor Scout, to bring you the best deals on your next car. Not only do we have access to thousands of dealers who we make fight each other to get you the best deals, we charge them a fixed fee, so it doesn't cost you anything, and we always make sure that you get the best price with cars that are in stock anywhere in Australia. So if that sounds good to you, which it definitely should, head to carsauce.com/buy. Let's check out the back seats. Alrighty. Let's talk about the back seats now. So again, this thing rides on a big wheelbase, and you could tell 5'11", this is my normal driving position. This car is not big, really not big. I have so much legroom, so much toe room, and headroom as well is very, very good. You can see here that this whole back area is scratchy materials with no back pocket, but that's not a bad thing. You can actually drop both of these seats forward if you want to, and you could do work on it. You can eat off of it, so it's actually a really cool place to be. Now, this only comes as a 4-seater, but you wouldn't want to put 5 people in this car anyway, because it's only just over 1.8 meters wide, and you can do things like slide the seat forward to get more space in the cargo area. Quality, not amazing until you get down here, and you've got one of those panels again that you can change. But yeah, overall, it's a really nice place to be. I think it's actually going to do pretty well when it lands in Australia, but let me know what you guys think of the interior. Let's drive it. Alrighty guys, it's time to launch this thing. We are in Korea, so we're just going to do it. Foot on the floor, they say 10.6 seconds. Let's go. It's not fast, and also you can't see them, but there's 3 people in this car, including the PR manager, who's probably not very happy with me right now. Come on, baby, come on. Honestly, not too bad. 0 to 100 in 11.25 seconds. For 3 people in the car, I reckon that they would definitely get their claim of 10.6 seconds. Very cool. Alrighty guys, so driving the Hyundai Inster, or Casper EV as it's known in its local market. What's under the bonnet? So there are 2 battery options. There's a 42 kilowatt hour standard battery, and then there's a 49 kilowatt hour long range battery. We're not actually sure what the chemistry of those batteries are, so I would love love to tell you, but as of driving, I just can't. If you know, let me know in the comment section. You can also get this in 2 states of tune. If you go for the standard range, you're going to get 71.1 kilowatt of power sent through the front wheels through an electric motor, of course, and 147 newton meters of torque. But if you go for the big boy, the 49 kilowatt hour battery, that ups the power to 84.5 kilowatt of power. I love how they have to go down to the point just to get across that it's got a little bit more power, and the same 147 newton meters of torque. And in terms of range, it's actually a pretty decent story, especially if you compare it to something similar in size like the Fiat 500e, which has to have some of the worst range in the world. But anyway, this one with the standard range battery will get you about 305 kilometers based on WLTP testing. If you go for the top of the range, the big boy, you're going to get about 355 kilometers of WLTP. Take about 20 kilometers of range off each if you want to get the real world range, but that's actually pretty decent. And this one, we started at just over 300 kilometers and now we're at 270, and it's actually stayed pretty true to what it is. So yeah, impressive. So there is no better way to test out suspension than on some pretty terrible roads. So they're doing a lot of road works around here in Korea. And I will say, for the most part, this thing is very comfortable. However, when you do start to get on some bad roads like this, yeah, you can definitely feel the back end specifically kind of wobbling about, purely because it's based on a pretty low cost architecture, being the Casper, and also underpinning the i10. And so yeah, that torsion beam is not doing much favor for the back. However, the front end does feel actually quite nice and soft. And when you aren't on terrible roads like this, it is quite a comfortable drive. Okay, so what about handling? Because this is something that typically Hyundai does very well. We're currently in normal mode, and the steering is actually quite weighted, feels pretty nice and darty. However, if we press the drive mode button and go into sport mode, pre-production, it's not registering all the time, adds a bit of weight. You get a little bit more throttle response, so there isn't that much more you can squeeze out of it. And it does actually handle quite well. And like I said, when you are on these, well, less terrible roads, although, excuse me while we hit a speed bump, when you are on these less terrible roads, it actually smooths out quite a lot, and the primary ride of this thing is genuinely very good. And with throttle response, you put your foot down and you do get, well, quite a lot of torque there. Definitely can feel the lack of power. Anything above like 60 kilometers an hour and this thing slows down significantly. But for darting around town, it's quite literally perfect. Feels very good. So before we get into the negative, I do want to touch on something I really like, which is the iPedal. You have staged regenerative braking, which means that you can make it less regeneration or more. Right now we have iPedal, so we let go and the car really does slow down quite a lot. But the bad, well, we're in the Euro spec here, which is very similar to the Australian spec in its safety tech. You can hear if we go above 50 kilometers an hour here, it starts to flash, and eventually we get the beeping. They've definitely turned it down. It used to be a lot louder, but it's there. Thankfully now they've just added this where you hold the mute button and it comes up on the screen. Speed limit warning sound is off. Fantastic. And you have your eye monitoring system, which, to be honest, it does seem to be less intrusive than other Hyundai products. I wonder if they've done a bit more work there to make it less, because that's what it was. Alrighty guys, that's enough fun. Let's get into our final thoughts. Holy moly guys, final thoughts on the new Inster. Unfortunately, as I said, it is heavily camouflaged, but what this thing can achieve, at least with its current setup, is really quite impressive. It's not going to be the most mind-blowing EV in the world, but I really think we need some smaller competitors in the market. We don't need such big SUVs, and I think that this is the answer to that. It's going to be one of the smallest, if not the smallest EV you can buy in Australia. Very cool. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. Do you like the initial looks of this anyway? And what do you think about the way that it drives? And of course, if you want to buy any new car in Australia and want the best deals with cars that are actually in stock, head to carsauce.com/buy. Ciao.